Okay, well, we'll jump into the Q&A. What questions do we have? Thoughts, just kind of things we're working through or looking for some advice, or, it's a good time to kind of even bounce ideas or something that maybe you're trying to implement but struggling with the concept of it, or, good time to get feedback from people who are actually doing it, plus coaches. So no rhyme or reason here. You can raise a hand, unmute, put it in the chat, fire away. But what questions do we got going on today? Thoughts, concerns, grievances? Jeff.
I'm kind of curious. I'm just curious what some feedback people might have on some of the advertising that they do, or marketing, or both. We did Google Ads for a while. It worked for a while, and then it kind of, I don't know, fell off it just didn't work for a while, or hasn't worked lately. I know I'm getting into Google Local Services with you guys, are kind of getting me set up there. I know that's going to take a little bit of time. I do my own Instagram. We're fairly active in Instagram, and then that's it. Word of mouth, referrals. And I'm in Kansas City, so I guess every market might be a little bit different. But I'm just kind of curious if people have some things they've done. Signs in yards are a great inexpensive way for us to advertise, but I'm just curious if anybody had real good luck with, Google Ads or anything like that.
Yeah, Jeff, I think kind of your question is, where are you guys getting your leads? What have you liked? What have you not? Michael, I see your hand shot up. What's your thoughts?
Alyssa, Facebook Marketplace, amazing. My business has increased 25%, and she makes sure she stays within your budget. She doesn't push you to increase your budget if it's working. She does an amazing job.
Yeah. So Jeff, Alyssa's our Facebook ads manager with Rep and Growth. So you and I will get you scheduled with her. The plan right now is to do that in the beginning of or mid-January, but we can talk about moving that around timeline wise as well.
I actually Bryce, you set me up with her, I think December 31st. So
oh, that's right. We did that yesterday.
That's coming up. Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yep. And I did get those invites, by the way, calendar invites. So, or at least they're in my calendar. So
beautiful. Yeah, we love Alyssa. She does great work.
Okay.
Great feedback, Mike. What other feedback? What other lead sources have worked well for others here this morning? Or marketing efforts, not necessarily lead sources, but marketing efforts. Crickets. Nothing works. There's no work out there. No leads to be had. No. So I'll give a little bit of some insight here, and maybe people will have some thoughts to chime in with. But lowest hanging fruit opportunities. Oh, Mr. Roan, I'll let you go first.
Shay's over here too. She's like, "Hey, push the button, raise your hand."
Yeah.
Yard signs too. Yeah, we normally just put them all on previous customers' houses that we've done work with, or if they want a discount, we just say, "Hey, can we put a sign in your yard for a month?" And we've gotten calls from that, so that worked for us.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're saying yard signs, not necessarily on a project you're working on. Outside of that,
both.
Yeah.
Shay want us to do it while on the project we're working on, which I've been slacking at. But stuff that we've actually finished, like new doors, we put them in their yard and left them there for a month.
Yeah.
What's hard is that we're only on a project for maybe 8 hours. Like we don't do projects for days or months at a time. And so that's how we kind of get around that is we just ask if we can keep it in there a little bit longer, and then we have a tech who's in the area swing by and pick it up
Yeah, yard signs on projects that we're working on have been really great for us. But yeah, it's also helpful that we're on a project for 5 to 6 months. So
Yeah. Whether you're at a job for 4 hours, 8 hours, or 8 months, I would really recommend going to the houses surrounding that house with a little handwritten note that, letter that says, hey, I'm Jeff. I'm the owner of blank. We're working at blank's house up the street. We're going to be here for blank amount of time. If we are in your way at any point, please let me know. This number goes directly to me. For the hassle, coffee is on us. Here's a Starbucks gift card, And so who are they going to think of the next time they're looking for a contractor? They're going to think of the one that was intentional enough to go to the neighbors' houses, not trying to sell anything, but just letting them know that they're there, who they're working for, if they need anything, who to contact, and gave a gift, And so that's a very low cost, way to really help your branding and potentially get work. Even if somebody doesn't, they might call you in a year. That's still, a very low effort, low cost thing that got you a lead.
Yep. Absolutely. Especially whenever you get into a neighborhood that you really want more work of, there's no better way to do that. You can hope that people will see your stuff and do something, but you can also do a little bit of proactive, just one of the mornings that you're there over the couple of months, do a couple door knocking or a little door hanger or something like that. The one sheet is a great tool for that as well. So yeah. The other thing I would say, as far as like more immediate plug into the system, that I was going to mention earlier, is a low-hanging fruit is your past customers or bids that never closed. Doing a simple email campaign is very free, and there may be some minimal cost to it. It's very cheap, at least. But doing an email campaign to unclosed bids that has some sort of an offer of, hey, we'll take X% off of our project management fee to relook over your numbers if someone never closed, or even just simply following up with phone calls as well. If you have an office admin or someone that can do that for you, hey, here's all the bids that didn't close this year. Call them and let's see, hey, did you end up getting that project done? I know you weren't waiting for my call. We'd love to look that over again for you or whatever. By the way, if we get you on the schedule, for the springtime before X date, then we'll give you a 5% off your project management fee or something like that. Those sort of things are very inexpensive, but potentially very effective routes, as well as something that you can do with your business-to-business relationships is talking to people you've worked with before in the past or others that might be good key connections. That's more like Dream 100 work. That's all stuff you can do without increasing your ad spend. And then the last thing that I'll add is your Google business profile. Always, always, always getting reviews is that heartbeat to Google. It improves your ranking. It's the water that causes all the ships to rise. Any marketing you do has some tie back to whatever your Google business shows and your credibility and reference point there. So if you put some firepower towards getting Google reviews from either customers and or character reviews from friends, family, vendors, suppliers, anyone that can speak to what you do in managing your business, kind of your integrity, those are perfectly valid reviews because that's what people look for when they're going to look at reviews. How does this company manage themselves and operate with integrity? So those character reviews, not just customer reviews, are also valuable. So that's always 365 days a year, every year of forever. It's going to be worth whatever effort you put towards getting some reviews to generate more leads as well, because it causes everything else to rise up. So, Mr. Rowan, did you raise your hand again to go for it?
I was just going to chime in when you were talking about going back through previous bids. We had our office manager go do that, and we've got two pretty big bids that she followed up on, and we're doing this week. So that did work.
Let's go. Testify. Amen, brother.
That's a win.
There's the win.
Huge win.
Just had to wait a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. It's amazing what you can get from that customer list. And what I'll say is if you are spending any money on advertising, whether it's Google Local Services or Meta Ads, if you are not making follow-up calls or calling through that customer list, or if you're not calling leads more than twice If you're not sending out mass emails to that list, you are leaving money on the table. You're spending a lot more on ads for, your return of investment's going to be low. And so I would just really, if you are investing in advertising, I would absolutely make sure that you are doing that low hanging fruit activity. Otherwise, your return of investment is just going to be lower than it needs to be. And so love that testimonial, Roan. That's great proof. It does work. I'm going to ask for more questions here, but I saw one come through in the chat and want to get everybody's feedback here. It's Dale Eads with Arnold's Plumbing. He's asking if everyone else shops their insurance every year. He said he used to, but he's gotten pretty comfortable with his routine and, using the same guy. But is kind of feeling like he's paying a little bit more than he should be. Does anybody have experience there or, consistently shops around? Roan, would love your
Sorry, I
thoughts.
keep raising my hand. No. Yeah,
We
we
love
waited
it.
way too long to shop insurance, and then I decided to try to look for the company that was presenting for our CEs, and yeah, they ended up. Well, our previous company told us that we were going to pay like 2 or 3 times more because we wanted to hire on a 19-year-old, our nephew, and they just told us we're going to pay way a lot
That's
more.
crazy.
Went to this company and we ended up paying less overall by like $1,000 a year. So yeah, I waited way too long to shop, and I'll put his info in there, see if he can help you guys.
Yeah, that's great. I'm always a big believer in anytime you're purchasing a software or finding a new accountant, bookkeeper, insurance person, interview 2 or 3. Have some people you're comparing. Don't take one word over the other. Really, have just like how it's probably irritating when clients get multiple bids, but sometimes it's helpful to you that they do that because they can see, how yours stands out. But I would really recommend, pretty consistently just checking. Definitely doesn't hurt. Get 2 or 3 more opinions. And Rowan, if you do want to throw their information in the chat, that's great. Great advice there. All right. What other questions do we have today, or feedback on the insurance or on ads? Raise a hand, unmute, put it in the chat. Items that we're working through. Rowan, I see you just put that email in there. Appreciate you. Ty.
Okay, mine is more of a confession for the group, and that is having been in sales for 30 years and teach sales and consult for sales and train for sales and write segments for sales and consult for other people's businesses. It's a lot like y'all were just talking about on golf. And while I'm standing out shooting 106, telling somebody else how to swing. And so that's kind of like the conversation we had with you, Nicole, this week of things that we're going, I know how to do this. I believe I know how to do this. I'm pretty sure I know how to do this, but it's not working really well. And just running those things back through people and in front of people. And I guess it's one of those things that, like when we started, the gentleman that I called for references for Redmond, and he said, hey, one of the things I'm going to tell you, I've already bought and sold a business, but you're probably doing a lot of things, you're probably not doing a lot of things that you know to do, and they're going to remind you. And he goes, and here I am again. You should know all this stuff, and it should be old hand to you, but he said just the voices to back up what you know to be true and get back in the habit of presenting a certain way and saying things in a different way. And again, it's more of a confession of, yeah, at my age, I'm like, I know all this shit. But that's great. Right now you're shooting 106. So maybe you tweak your swing just a little.
Yeah.
And
makes a big difference.
So that's been a big thing. And it's not humbling in the fact of it hurts my feelings. It's humbling in the fact of going, holy cow, just these things only help you make money. They're not, even like us talking about the one sheet and stuff. And yeah, if that's what they know to work, use it, because what you're doing is not getting what you want. So that's it. Just
we so appreciate that, Ty, and words of wisdom. I'm obligated to say this because I am a coach, but I'm a big believer that everybody needs a coach if you're trying to get better at something, whether it's, your health or financial management or growing a company. There's a reason that those companies exist out there, coaches and consultants, and that accountability is huge. You're totally right. We tell people when they come on board, we're probably not going to tell you anything you don't already know. We're just going to make it easier for you to do it and hold you accountable to doing it. And so appreciate you being coachable, because that makes the whole difference there. And I'm excited to get those one sheets ready for you.
I'll say this: things get clouded, and like we were telling you about, like my health. Even the it's not funny, but it's funny that like I'm going to have surgery on my shoulder on the 30th, and just so thankful. And where we thought it was one thing, when you go to your surgeon, he goes, "Oh no, you have a torn labrum, a torn rotator cuff, arthritis, a torn bicep." And I go,
"Oh,
was there like a flow bundle package that we're going to do on the 30th?" And we are. And what's funny is the one that they thought was the worst is the only one they're not going to touch. But
oh my gosh,
when you do physical work, it's a big deal that you won't be able to raise your arm over your head for 6 weeks coming in January. But at the same time, one of those wonderful blessings is the job that we're working on right now. I walk inside and the guy's doing stained concrete inside our homeowner's house. And he walks up to me and just goes, "Hey man, you wouldn't happen to be looking for people to help, would you?" And because we have our epoxy trailer parked in the driveway, and I went, "You know what, and I'm 30 seconds after finding out my surgery, and I go, this could be a very wonderful, godly day for the two of us."
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Well, sorry, not the way to go into 2026, but hopefully it allows your 2026 to be even better, getting that out. And glad you're getting a twofer, get one free, fourfer, buy three, get one free.
Yeah.
Philip, I see your hand up.
Wait. I want to jump in before Phil.
Okay.
Just a few things I want to comment on there, Ty, which is, number one, I've been saying this enough in all of my meetings recently that I just want to say it broadly as well. To your point about it's going to be small adjustments, like Jeff was saying with the golf swing and things like that. Whenever we bring up certain items or things or say, hey, this is best practice on a deal, if you find yourself thinking like, yeah, we're doing that, or we're mostly doing that, mostly is not doing it. And it could be that small difference that makes the difference. It may be you're 80% of the way there. Yeah, we follow up, but are you following up every day for 10 business days? Or are you following up sporadically every couple of days and there's no sort of sequence or rhythm to it? That difference is the difference between closing 30% and closing 60% of your bids. So to that point, right, you know what to do. It's a matter of doing it fully, doing it comprehensively. But as Nicole said too, it's not necessarily stuff you don't know. It's not groundbreaking or revolutionary, but there's I don't know who said it, but there's someone that said, we want complex solutions to complex problems, or problems that feel really complex. But it's the simple solutions that make the biggest impact almost always. So keeping that mindset and just kind of saying that broadly, if you're saying, yeah, I'm doing whatever XYZ 80% of the way, like 80% to best practice, that's not doing it best practice. So make that change. The second thing that I think is really cool, I've seen this time and time again with coaching, but the surgery and the 6 weeks off, Ty, that you're about to get into, that's going to be such a transformative time for your business. And here's why. Every small business owner doesn't realize how much of a bottleneck they are until they're forced out. There are things that you're going to have to rely on your team because you can't compensate anymore. And then realize, oh, if I empower and enable my team and ask them of this thing, they'll just do it. They can do it. It's been me not not requiring it of them, even though it totally fits in their scope of what they ought to be doing. So usually if guys that I'm working with have a surgery or an injury that takes them out of the field for a couple of days or a week, or if they've got like a vacation that, you know, has to go on, or you know, maybe unfortunately like a death in the family, those things are usually the tipping point for guys realizing for the first time, I've made myself more necessary than I really needed to. There are things that I could delegate that I'm usually feeling too busy to cover, because I'm putting on my Superman hero cape and saying yes, because I'm the fastest, I'm the best, I'm going to get this done, because you are. But when you can't put on the cape because you're physically restricted, that's a huge time for you to learn and start to delegate and then never take those things back. So looking forward to that. And I'll say that preachy thing for everyone to kind of benefit from. But Mr. Phillip, you've been patiently waiting, sir. Thanks for letting me chime in there. Go ahead.
No, it's all great stuff, Bryce. No, I try to not send emails during these calls because it's distracting, but it brought me to a question that I've been meaning to ask. And the big issue that I have, or that we have when we're getting leads, is providing ballpark numbers. And I think the biggest crux of the situation is always trying to ask what the finish, you know, obviously we're like, you know, this kind of falls in this range and kind of depends on site conditions and finish levels and all that. But, you know, when you try to explain to somebody that, you know, there's builder grade, there's mid grade, and there's, you know, high end finish. And I was curious if anybody else like has figured out a way to like navigate, like, how do you like specify, hey, this is mid grade, hey, this is builder grade, hey, this is high end? Because our issue is that a lot of client perception is that they're thinking builder grade, but in reality they're thinking mid grade, and then other folks are thinking mid grade and they're actually thinking you know, higher end. So it's like, how does everybody else like delineate that early on so that you can price things up correctly?
Yeah, man, great question. Mr. Rowan, see your hand up. Go chime on.
We just say good, better, best. We offer three different options: a good option, better option, or the best option. Because if you start getting into saying like, what's your budget? Everybody's budget's different, and it all means something different too. So we got away from that, and we just better or best. What are you looking for?
Yep. That makes sense. How do you guys like build packages? Because like, you know, we're so custom and we do such like varying degrees of projects, like from $50,000 project to $800,000 project, $1 million projects. Like, how do you build those packages? Because there's just so much scope that can range. You know, they could be putting in $10,000, $20,000 worth of countertops, but only putting in like $1,000 vanity or $1,000, you know, mid-grade tile.
That'd be a question for somebody else. We just do the garage door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good,
I
good.
have, yeah. I guess my thing says Taylor, but I'm his wife, Kaylee. But we're general contractors, and what we do is we give a pretty big range, and then we say, like, based on experience, this is the range. It could be a kitchen can cost you $25,000, it can cost you $100,000. Like, we give a pretty big range and say it just totally depends on what kind of finishes you're doing and all that kind of stuff. And then we give that for free. And then we say, if you want to meet with our suppliers and pick things out, then we can give you a line item estimate, and we charge them $500. And we say that goes toward your build if you want to do it with us. And it has worked out really well because it's kind of an idea for them to kind of be like, okay, that's kind of, I think I can work with that range. And then, you know, if they're really interested, then they'll pay you to do a line item. And then you can actually talk to your cabinet person and have them meet with them, be like, well, how many cabinets do you want? And all those kinds of things. And then countertops, to your point, I mean, those are varying ranges, right? And so I think with custom, you do just kind of have to say, like, you pick it out and we'll give you the price, because we can't tell you what it will cost until you do that.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. So
that's great.
Yeah. Mr. Kolke, see your hand up if you want to contribute here. And then I got some thoughts too.
So we built two programs, the Pick 5 kitchen and the Pick 7 bath. We use those as a benchmark. We actually advertise those. They are our number one seller that we publish on House and social media, Facebook, IG, and so on. We also send out, we built a cadence that through CMM with the lead gen when it comes in. They book an appointment. We have design sheets that are sent out that really pick everything out for the customer before our sales team goes out and has a meeting with the client. But the brochure that comes out, it's a kitchen for $35K with appliances. The bathroom's $25K, already pre-done. We reverse engineered it, so we know the pricing of everything, labor, the whole 9 yards. We've never sold one. We've never sold anything for that price. Usually our kitchens are selling for 45 to 50,000. Bathrooms are selling for 35 to 40 grand, somewhere in that area. That's just the baseline. But giving them an option and a number that we market online everywhere, that there's an actual fixed price. When you buy a car, a house, whatever you're buying online, you can see a price for everything. With construction, there is really no price. Nobody publishes prices really. And the fact that we published a price built trust with the clientele base, and with social media, Google, you name it, we're literally moving very fast because of the fact that the trust factor is already given, from the customer, because they have somewhere to base their decisions on. But having some kind of set price to work off of, we struggled with that in the beginning of last year, and then we built these systems, and it makes it real easy. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys.
For sure. Thanks, Jim.
Nice. Yeah. What I'll add just briefly as well is I know other contractors have specific suppliers, material houses that they'll work with, and they kind of, I don't remember who it is. It might be CDs that does like stickers. Like they say, here's your yellow options, your red options, and your, blue options or whatever. And that gets you some more specifics where they can see items. That takes a lot more work. It's time intensive up front, but it also controls the parameters a little bit. The other thing that I was going to offer was very similar and exactly essentially what Kaylee said, which is to shift the language a little bit, that people can have a free estimate, but that free estimate is a ballpark range. One of the other ways that you get into having the budget or the pricing conversation that's really straightforward and doesn't put defenses on people is to say, as you're having that initial walkthrough, right, to say, hey, a project kind of like this that we did recently cost this much. Is that about what you were expecting? That's a very, subtle way to enter into the pricing conversation. And you're not saying this is what your project will cost. You're saying this is what a project similar to yours cost. These were the differences between theirs and what yours might be. This is kind of what they selected. You could show them a photo even, and that would give them an idea of, hey, this is what this one cost us to do. Is that about what you were expecting? Then they tell you your budget, and also you get into the quality conversation as well to see, all right, what tier of materials are you kind of looking to finish with? And that's both happening there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our problem for a while, that all makes sense. Thanks, everybody. Our problem is we were going real hard into like pre-con fees for a while. So we'd like give them that ballpark range, and then we'd get into the pre-con in our pre-con speech of like, hey, this is better because we can get more accurate pricing, really, value engineer things, figure out some constructability issues, all sorts of, details that, take work and take time. And we lost a couple big jobs because of that, because we were charging a fee. So, that's fine. We're doing okay. It's just like those would have been really, really nice. And like, maybe it's like, do we do what Kaylee said, where it's like, charge a lower fee, where it's like a little bit harder or easier of a pill to swallow up front.
Yeah. Fair questions, stuff to kind of think through. I do think if you're having to mobilize subs, or if you're producing anything that they're going to keep at the end of the day, regardless of who does the project, stuff like plans, permitting, drawings, that stuff you can just tell them, here's who we use. Maybe you could pay them directly because you're going to use those regardless of who you go with. And then that's reduced from your price of anyone that you go to because you're going to need them. Or yeah, like you said, doing a lesser fee that really just covers a little bit more of your detailed time to put in numbers. But yeah, as everyone here can attest, it's the selections of materials that you have to have some variance on. And so being able to show a specific project, I think, is the best way to enter into that conversation of, hey, here are recent things that we've done and their actual costs. Is that about what you were expecting? And then you get into both sides of the conversation there. And then you can build still a little bit more of a ballpark and then get into more commitment, have them have skin in the game. So it's not just right, we're going to go through and spend 4 hours on design, and then you may not move forward in any capacity, right? Well, at least let's get our time compensated for that, for the design time and the consultative time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do have a sidebar question too, Bryce, for you. So it's kind of a long shot, but my estimator and I talk about it all the time. I have my UK citizenship. My dad's from.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
and my dad's from London, and we've been thinking about, just with a lot of things going on in the business here, and we're like, can we expand? Is there any way to expand to the UK and break into that market while maintaining, the market that we have here? And I'm like, have you guys ever seen builders do that, where they just pick up shop and move halfway across the world and still maintain the business that they have, elsewhere?
Actually, I think Nicole has direct experience with doing that with a client, right? With oh no, that was Harley. That was Harley who did that.
Yeah, I don't have anybody who's gone overseas. I have had clients who've done stuff in other states. I will say it's very hard to manage a company when you're not actively there. It can get to that point. I mean, because we have clients who eventually do, retire or move somewhere else where somebody's kind of running their business for them. So it's possible, but they also invested a lot of years boots on the ground, to get there and building that up. And so it's definitely not impossible. It's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of really just building up a team you can trust and somebody who it can be boots on the ground if you can't. But it's definitely not impossible. It's just a little bit of a tougher when you're not physically there. It's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy I was thinking of that did this as a client with us was, I just remember his first name was Zach, and I think he was a roofer. Does that ring any bells for you, Travis or Nicole? It's not necessarily important to remember exactly his business name, but they built up to a point of scalability that he was able to himself. They really prioritized mission, evangelical mission in their life. So they were either in South Africa or a specific country within Africa. I don't remember exactly which one, but they would spend 6 weeks to half a year over there and still kept their business in the US. As far as expanding operations to a different country, that's a lot more complicated bag, especially with the UK. I assume that's why you're asking me specifically, is because of my recent experience with it.
Yeah.
So the UK is a bit tough. There's not a lot of easy routes to, since you have your citizenship, it's going to be much easier for you than it is for me because I'm not a UK citizen at all. But the ability to stay and to open a business is a bit more convoluted, a little costly, and they don't make it very easy, I would say, generally. That's not to say that you can't. I could go through the process of trying to open a business even as a foreigner there. But since you have your citizenship, that may be easy. Is there a market? Of course, there's a market everywhere. So you could do that. But you never want to try to build up satellites until you got your mothership really well in order. That's the main thing to keep in mind. So if that's broken and you're trying to start doing your own kind of franchise model, essentially for yourself, you can't, and you don't want to replicate a diseased,
So,
a diseased core product, right?
yeah.
You gotta fix those things first, make it scalable, delegate out or have enough of your team managing responsibilities for the day-to-day that you could go dark for 2-3 weeks at a time and things still function.
Mhm.
Being out of the field, being offsite, you have those responsibilities covered. I would make sure that happens first before you try to relocate yourself, and especially before you try to move operation.
For sure. Yeah, I was curious because Power Builders is technically, you know, off-site from where where Edmonton is based, right? So like, I was curious how that
Yeah,
functionally works.
one of the owners is there,
Oh,
lives
is
there
there?
full time.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes
Yep,
sense.
and he's the project manager. He's the boot and the sales guy, boots on the ground. And so Robert's more just like, it's kind of like Robert is their consultant, kind of like how we are to our clients, where he's more involved in just the business activities and the finances and stuff like that. And so that's how that works so well.
Yeah. Okay.
And they
Cool.
did the founding of it locally. He was there when they started everything and got things kind of off the ground, which would make sense in any sort of context like that. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. Fun question.
Yeah. Come on, join me. By the way, if anybody does come to the UK, let me know. London's 4 hours away from me. So London is not all of England, just because everybody thinks of it that way. I live in Manchester, which is in north of England. So if you're close towards Scotland or in Manchester for whatever reason, let me know.
My brother's got season tickets. I've got a half brother in Henley on Thames,
Oh yeah.
He's got season tickets to Man U. So if I ever get some stray tickets, I'll let you know.
Brother, yeah. I'll let you know too.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. What other questions do we have this morning? Any other head scratchers? Things you're thinking about? Great stuff so far. Lots of good things. Miss Kaylee.
I don't know why I raised my hand. I could have just unmuted. I was wondering what you guys do for when you hire people. We're thinking about hiring someone soon. And we used to have employees a while ago, but it just didn't work out super great. So we're kind of dipping back into that world. And just wondering, like, especially at the beginning, like, do you do a 3-month trial period? Like at the very, very beginning, do you kind of create like a goal plan with them of like how much they want to make? Like, I just don't even know how to start it because I feel like we don't have a lot of money to throw at it right now. And we kind of want to make sure they're a good fit before we do that. Just, yeah, I'm starting from like zero, I feel like, with this.
Great question. Any client feedback? Or I have a feeling I can think of a few clients who feel the same way.
I've done some hiring here in the last year, probably 3 new hires in the last year, from a project manager to a couple of skilled tradesmen. And the skilled tradesmen just kind of fell in our lap. And we're just, just acquaintances from our superintendent that he'd worked with in the past. So that was just kind of a unique situation. But my superintendent, who we brought on, we found through LinkedIn Jobs. So I posted on ZipRecruiter, I posted on LinkedIn Jobs. I think LinkedIn Jobs I guess it just kind of depends on what who you're looking to hire a little bit there. If it's like more of a bit of a professional role, if you will, I think LinkedIn Jobs is a pretty good option. I mean, it costs money, it's not cheap, but at least to get, I would post a job for a week, I'd get 20 applicants. I would reach out via like set up a phone call, have the phone call. If the phone call went well, I'd have a in-person kind of interview. And if I liked them, then, we'd start talking money pretty quickly just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, I guess this situation is a little unique as well, where somebody has kind of fallen in our lap as well. A client that we're working for is a professor at BYU, well, at a college. And he has somebody that is not going to be going to school anymore. And she grew up doing construction with her dad and brother and has supposedly like project managed 4 jobs on her own, which is, we're looking for someone that can help us like project manage. but she is like very young and she's experienced, but like small town Montana type stuff. So we're not really sure like what makes sense as far as like, I think we're interested in hiring her just because since she doesn't have that level of expertise, we won't have to pay her a ton off the bat, but it's still hard to figure out like how to start.
Yeah. Well,
and like what it looks like.
I'm going to kind of remove the pressure from you. She will come to you with what she is expecting.
Well, I already asked her that.
Yeah.
I actually talked to her yesterday about this. And I said, do you have any expectations as far as pay goes? And she literally said, which maybe this is everyone's dream to hear this, but she's like, honestly, not really. Like, I don't really even know how to answer that question because I've always just worked with my dad and brother. And like, I'm really interested in it for the experience. Like, I just want to know.
That is great.
I'm like a good builder. And like, I'm dropping out of school because I'm so passionate about building and I miss like being in that building world. And I just don't think like her professor who we work for right now on a job is the one that told her like, hey, maybe it does make sense for you to not continue school. Maybe you just go get some experience and work for a builder. In fact, I know a really good builder.
Yeah, I see Laura.
And so
I see Laura in the chat. She goes, hire her. I do think it sounds great. We love the idea of getting somebody young and eager and kind of building them up. And it sounds like she would love the opportunity to learn and grow and build a career and kind of find a foothold in a young company that she could be like a big part of. And so I think it is a phenomenal opportunity. I think you and Taylor just need to sit down and say, hey, where do we want to start her? And it's okay to start kind of on the lower end and let her know, hey, after the first 30 days, we can look at an increase depending on how you're feeling, what revenue you're able to bring in. I would always say having like KPIs, we always want to set expectations of like bringing somebody on board like that. We should be able to handle more jobs than what we currently are. We should be able to get jobs done on time, on budget, just kind of setting those parameters. But we always want to give ourselves room to grow, so we definitely want to start on the lower end so that we can incentivize and build. We just want to make sure that we're setting expectations. You want them to be able to clearly see, how do I know I'm doing a good job? And so we want to set those expectations of here's how we know that. But it sounds like
where I'm having a little PTSD because it just didn't work out at all last time.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to work, but like I just feel like I don't know anything about hiring anyone because it went so bad. So
I'm sure, and I don't know the situation, but don't let that one bad egg, make you lose confidence, because it can take going through a few different people to find the right one. And so you can't lose faith in the role and you can't lose faith in yourself. Now, it is always good to ask yourself, what could I have done to better equip that individual? Did I provide them a checklist? Did I set KPIs, expectations? And that's what I would do going into this role. But if you did all of that and that person still just like did not work out, it probably just wasn't the right person. It probably wasn't you. So it can be super disheartening. I tell people all the time, especially like with hiring a project manager or office manager, like, hey, I know this role will serve your company. It's a matter of finding the right person and equipping them. So no, we might go through a few before we find that right one.
Yep. And it's worth it to do so. I'll add this. Between me and Travis, there were 3 other coaches that were hired, onboarded, started taking on clients that ultimately didn't work out and left or were exited out. But having those checkpoints, and especially, I can't overemphasize what Nicole said too, giving them actual measurable KPIs to try to achieve. How do I know if I'm doing well? When you set expectations well in onboarding of, hey, this is what this can look like, it's really important to me to not evaluate every single day. Is this benefiting me or not? But to do it at checkpoints, to say, all right, a month in, 60 days, 90 days. And you can say, until then, we're going to do our best. We're going to invest fully 2 feet in. We're not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We're going to invest fully in you. And then we'll have a time where we sit down and talk about, hey, what was everything like this last month? This is what we saw. This is what you did. And that sort of thing. But again, as well, I would reemphasize what Nicole says with hiring anyone should be able to take some hats off of your plate, or off of your head, and to delegate some of those tasks into another person's court. It should allow you to make more money and to do things faster and more productively. Granted, especially in this case with this girl, she's not going to be doing that, I would say, probably even for the first month, because she's going to be doing some training and you guys are going to help kind of feel things out, make sure she does it the Butterfield way rather than whatever dad and brother way was, that's going to need to happen. And definitely let's work on some stuff to put it together. But as Nicole said too, sorry, I'm just repeating everything you said, Nicole, but it was good. And I want to add a little twist to it. Is starting people lower and moving them up is absolutely the way to go, especially when they tell you up front, this is what I'm looking for as the experience and I want to grow. People will accept that, and great people will accept that as well, because they know they can earn it back. We're big proponents of merit-based pay. Ultimately, that'd be a good thing for us to try to implement with a project manager type of role, things that based on what value they generate for the company, they also get compensated. But people will take the pay cut to build their way back up. I took a 40% pay cut whenever I went from working at Pepsi to coming to Redmond Growth, and I've built that back up and got past it, since. Like, you build up with good people, you will still have great clientele, or not great clientele, great hires whenever you start them there, but you can't go backwards, right? If you start somebody at $100 an hour and then you have to push them back down to $80 an hour, that's a big shift. You can't really go backwards on incentives. So always start off, provisionally and say, hey, this is what we want to do as a minimum. And especially paint the future of what we'd like to do is more of a merit-based pay system, where based on the revenue you generate or the jobs and project sizes that you manage, you make a percentage of that, so that they know that their their income is theoretically uncapped. They can make as much as they're worth, and people that are all-stars rise to that occasion.
Yeah.
That'd be the little twist I add.
Yeah. And it's okay to stumble through it. I also like to emphasize that with a new role in the company, like, it's okay to stumble through it. It's okay to even set that expectation of, hey, this is a new role for the company, so we're going to be stumbling through it a little bit. What I'm going to ask from you as the employee is to let me know when you're not feeling guided, when you're feeling like you don't have support, when you're feeling like there's a better way that we could do something. Let's have that open, and hold me accountable to documenting things, to documenting how to do things, to using, Loom is a tool that we use to record our screens to be able to show clients how do you file leads in Google Local Services. Like, if I'm repeating something and you're having a hard time remember, let's sit down and document it. Like, help me help you, but don't feel like the role needs to be completely built out before you bring somebody on. You've waited too long at that point. It's going to be stumbling through it, and that's totally okay. Jordan, I don't know if you have a question or specific feedback on this, but would love to get to you here.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, we've started really trying to three categories when we make decisions like that. Like, is it gonna drive revenue? Is it gonna save time? Or is it gonna save money? So if it's not doing any one of those three things with that hire, then, or buying a piece of equipment or whatever it is, like, all of our decisions, we're trying to run through those three things. Is it gonna make money, or save time? And if it's not doing those things, then it's probably not a critical thing. At that point, you're just painting the wall in the office, and it's like, it's nice if we got a bunch of money to spend, but if not, we're not really doing it.
Yeah. Great feedback. That all goes back to KPIs and setting expectations when you bring someone on. Got to have that, or otherwise there are going to be a waste of time and money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I know that we don't have group coaching for the next 2 weeks. I hope you guys take that time to enjoy some time with family, to get some well-deserved time off, but also don't feel like you are abandoned or stranded. Get in the group chat if you have questions. I know I'm working Monday and Tuesday of next week. I think Bryce is working even 3 days next week, maybe four days. Yeah. I think most of us is only really taken off New Year's Day next week, or the week after. So just don't feel like you're abandoned during this holiday season. If you need something, even if your coach is busy, you can book a call with another coach if you need to talk to somebody. So just don't hesitate. You got the group chat, you've got other coaches. Just reach out. we know that work doesn't stop just because holidays happen. So if you need anything, you have the support, I promise. But we'll close out this group call the same way we always do, and that is with a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So if I could get everybody to unmute, we'll do 3, 2, 1.
Grow.
Bye, guys. Happy holidays. See you in the new year.